Well, our wing has set up now overnight, so we're going to remove it from the clamps. Now I'll just go over this with the belt sander and we'll kind of clean this up a little bit. And we're still going to have to scrape some glue off of this area. This is an old repair someone did at some point. So we'll clean that all up. And this wing will be ready to go back on our chair. One thing you want to be very mindful of when you're cleaning these up, that you don't have any tacks or any staples sticking up. If you do, you should pull those out because that'll put quite the nick in your chisel and you'll have to sharpen it all over. Okay, you'll notice on this joint I'm using a different kind of glue that we use for the repair. In this case I'm going to be using a liquid hide glue. I talked about the hide glue earlier. And I like to use that on structural parts of the chair and parts of the frame that may have to be removed at some time in the future. And this is also a traditional glue that would have been used in building this chair. As you can see, I've added another clamp along the bottom of that board there. When I tightened up the clamp that holds the wing on, I noticed that bottom board is creeping a little bit, so I added another clamp to support it a little better. What we'll do now is we'll turn our attention to the other side of the chair, and I'll clean up the wing and the chair frame of all the old glue, just like I demonstrated for this wing. On this opposite wing, or actually it's on the crest rail, you'll notice we have a little different problem here. We actually have a cavity where the tenon that was cut out of this side rail has been, I don't know, somehow gotten damaged, probably from the screws, and is gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of wood that's going to work like a plug that will shape it to fit in there, and we'll put some glue on that, and we'll fill that cavity with. I'm just going to continue trimming this down until this will fit right inside of there. Okay, after a few trips back and forth and a little fitting and trimming with a hand plane, I think I've got this about where I want it. Now this goes in, just a little bit of a tap here. That's just about what we want. A nice snug fit. We'll tighten that up. That'll act just like a clamp. But this isn't really the way I want to install this plug that we're making. See, the grain of this piece we're using as a repair runs this way. but the grain on the tenon runs up and down. Wood will move with seasonal moisture content. So what we want to do is we want to orientate the grain on this plug to match the grain on this frame member here. So I'm going to have to cut this off, and we'll tap this in this way. Okay, here's the plug we've got all ready to go in there. Now I'm going to put some glue on this. Tap that in. We want to be careful not to tap too hard, because remember I told you earlier we don't want to knock the clamps off on the other side of this chair. Use my tack camera here too. Make sure that's seated well. And what we'll do is when this glue dries, I'll take and I'll trim off this little excess here, and we'll clean that up good. I'll probably put another clamp on here also, just to help hold that. Make sure we get a good glue joint. And this is in fairly tight, so I don't see much of a reason for leaving this clamp on here more than the recommended 30 minutes. So what I'll probably do is go get myself some lunch, and we'll come back and clean that up. Here we have the plug all glued in and trimmed off smooth. Okay, we were able to remove the clamps on this first wing that we glued up, and as you can see, sometime in the past somebody put some really good sized screws in here, and they're really bigger than what should have been used. Probably they replaced some original screws that were there that had worn out, and they just replaced them with some bigger ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill those holes out, and we're going to put in a 1/4 inch dowel. Once I had these dowels cut, I just took it over on a belt sander and I put a little chamfer on it to help it go in. And I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of glue here on the leading edge. And just use a wooden mallet to drive that in there. Damp rag comes in handy for cleaning the glue off. And we'll just take this off. This one's pretty flush as it is. Then what I'll do is I'll just drill a couple new holes down here, and we'll put some screws in there. Probably not really necessary, but since the chair was originally built with screws, I will be replacing those. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom where the wing attaches to the arm. So we'll do the exact same procedure here as well. Once you have the holes drilled and the dowels installed, you can go ahead and drill your pilot hole. Want it to be just a size smaller than the screw you're going to use. Next step, we will chamfer it. They make special bits for chamfering, but if you're following along at home and you don't have a specialized tool, you can use a drill bit that's just as big as the head of your screw. Just be careful not to drill too deep. You just want to go enough to flush the head of that screw. Off camera, I went ahead and installed some screws. Now I will do the same procedure where the wing attaches to the arm, and when that's done we will advance to the other wing and we will follow the same procedures there as well. Here we have the wing chair with all the repairs made. The wings have been reattached to the chair, and it looks like we're ready to start putting this thing together. It's starting to look like a chair again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to web up the back, and I've already described how to do that, so I'm not going to show that on camera. I'm just going to go ahead and web it, but I will show you a technique that I use on the wings.